So last week we learned all about color mixing, and this week let's put it into action. We've got a lot of colors in our rainbow bullet journal inspired by Holi and St. Patrick's Day with all the rainbows and all the colors of this world. So you'll be able to mix and match a lot and make your own combinations, and I'll show you how fun this practice can look, because I never liked the coloring charts. I never liked to color by the lines. I prefer more fun exercises, and I think if we can find a way to implement the exercises into something that we actually need and use, like a bullet journal, that's a perfect combination. If you haven't watched that video, don't worry, you can follow along here as well. But if you need a reminder about color mixing, go and watch that one as well. First, I sketched my cover as usual, but this time I removed most of the graphite with rubber eraser. That's because I will only use watercolors and no line work, and the graphite from pencil could show through. I then mixed some dark skin tones and tested them on a scrap piece of paper because I'm not that confident with dark complexion tones yet. I painted her face and neck, and while that was drying, I played with her colored hair. I just went through the rainbow and added some color here and there. Some yellow, some red, some orange, and so on. I painted her sari red and shirt yellow, but in retrospect, I could have painted the sari green to match the lettering on the title. Well, you live, you learn. The title is written in brush lettering in green, and some green is mixed into the hair as well. I was always afraid to brush letter with the actual brush, but I must say I quite like it. I painted the irises in the eyes in dark brown and wrote the dates on the small calendar beneath the title with a black technical pen, or you could use a fine liner, and added some details to darken the pupils. Switching to a smaller brush and darker color, I added the eyebrows and some shading to the dark areas and red to the cheeks. Lastly, I splattered some splatters in different colors and splotched the calendar in green and blue to make it stand out a bit. For my monthly, I decided on a rainbow. I have done this kind of a spread before, but rainbows are fun and March is the month of rainbows, right? So I just took my old compass that my dad gave me from his student days and drew some half circles to help me make them a bit neater. It always amazes me how the old stuff works so well. I've had this compass for 30 years and he had it for at least 15 years before, and this is the best compass I have ever used. Whenever I paint rainbows, I start with yellow because it's the lightest, and this way I can't muddy it in case I wouldn't rinse my brush well. When the page was dry, I divided the half circle into 7 parts. I have tried to make the parts exactly the same in the past, but it's cumbersome to write in the gutter, so now I just divided one page into 3 and the next one into 4 sections. It's less hustle and it's easier to use. Win-win! I just drew the lines with technical pen and added the dates and days of the week at the bottom. I've written the title with brush in green watercolor again, and this time I freehanded it. The first time! I'm not a calligrapher by any means, but for my bujo is okay, and I'm pretty satisfied that I was even able to freehand it at all. Now on to the trackers. Brush lettering on mood tracker is in rainbow, and again I started with yellow, so I started at the end, since I wanted it to flow into the green on the next page. To draw the circle, I could use my compass again, but I wanted to show you how you can improvise if you don't have one. Just find a round object like a mug, a cup, or a jar. The drawn circle is divided into 32 parts because that is much easier than dividing it into 31 parts. And this also gives you parts to write the month in and visually divides the first and the last day of the month. For my habit trackers, I used the pencil eraser for the days of the week that I stamped in rainbow colors. You can see the names of the stamp pad colors on the right. I sketched the shape of the month before so that the habit trackers are spaced evenly, and I still forgot to add the first week at first and had to go back, but that was a really easy fix. Now for other trackers, I used a handmade stamp that I carved from a replacement pencil eraser. I used archival ink here because it gives a much clearer imprint than normal dye inks. Here you could see how I fixed the mistake with the corrector pen. I stamped too many shamrocks for 1 week. I finished the trackers with stripes of color for the title area and went on to work further on my mood tracker. When the circle was divided, I wrote the dates and drew the shamrocks around the outer circle. I painted the shamrocks in different shades of green and days on the mood tracker in the first half of the month in rainbow colors and in the second half of the month in shades of green. Here you can practice color mixing to your heart's content. You can't really go wrong with green on shamrock wreath, and you can practice other colors with the rainbow. This kind of practice is much more satisfying and fun than pure boring color mixing charts. If you're unsure about color mixing though, or want to learn more, check out my last week's tutorial. It goes from the absolute beginning and you'll be able to mix fresh or muddy greens and other colors for sure after watching it. Of course, you could also leave the circle white and color it depending on your mood. That was my initial intention actually. I just couldn't help myself when I saw it. I had to add color to it. I love color, what can I say? For the last page, I debated whether I should have any or not. But then I decided to just play with the portrait of a girl during Holi. I haven't found any reference that would be suitable for watercolors, so I just winged it and I still have to add some highlights into her eyes. This portrait is not something I would be proud of, but it's a start and I want to encourage you to just go with it. So I don't want to hide the non-successes. I want to do more portraits in the future, so the worse it is now, the better it can get, right? To finish it off, there's lots of splatters in different colors. On the opposite page, I just drew some shamrocks and painted them in different shades of green and also added some green splatters all around. And here's the final flip through. I hope you like this colorful setup and that it gave you some ideas what to do in your bullet journal, or maybe my weird portraits gave you some confidence to try one yourself. They can be fun even if they're not successful. Join me next week when we paint our rainbow weeklies in very splattery and splotchy way. See you next Friday. Bye bye!